Hey, if you clicked on this video, you are very, very lucky because this is gonna be one of the best videos I've put out in a while in terms of the actual content. It won't be super flashy in terms of stuff to keep your attention, but hopefully the content is interesting enough to keep your attention because it is super, super valuable and I really hope you get something out of it. I've always struggled with some form of anxiety, sometimes not very much and sometimes a lot, and I've even been feeling it recently, but this week I've found something that has totally changed that. Something that's made it so much easier to just relax, let go, and not worry. And even if you don't struggle with anxiety, this video can still probably help you because this is a concept that works in just many, many facets of life. I'm gonna touch on the one fundamental flaw of personal development as well as a little bit of Alan Watts in case you're a fan of him. This video is heavily inspired by him. And of course, I'll get to how you can apply this stuff to not have as much anxiety. If you're new to the channel, I'm Michael Dennis and I make videos about confidence, productivity, and happiness so you can get shit done and love every step of the way. Now, if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider hitting the subscribe button for more videos just like this every single week. So without further ado, I'm gonna get into one of the main parts of this video right off the bat, which is to stop judging yourself and your actions so hard. Stop being so hard on yourself. Now, what do I mean by this? It's kind of vague and kind of cliche, but don't worry, I'm gonna dig much deeper than that because if you've seen any video similar to this, you've probably heard about this before. But basically what I started to notice this week is that there's this huge gap between what I feel like I should be doing and what I'm actually doing. And so what do I mean by should be doing? Well, I mean, I make personal development videos on YouTube, and so I talk about things like meditation, the Wim Hof method, stuff like that. But then sometimes I find myself not necessarily doing those things every day or even all that often. Yes, I'm a fraud, I'm a phony, I'm a fake, I know, it sucks. Just kidding, that's exactly what you shouldn't be doing. What I've realized this week is that that's okay. It's okay if you know that something is good for you and you don't necessarily do it all the time. Because honestly, I'm starting to realize that I'm really happy the way I am now. I'm happy with my living situation. I'm happy with the work that I'm doing. I'm happy in pretty much every area of my life. Yet I'm still searching for some magical cure or some magical thing that will just make life so much better. And while this has sure helped a lot because I've collected a bunch of little things that help a little bit in all these different areas, there isn't one single cure, and that's something that I'm finding out. And now I know I said the title of this video is The Cure for Anxiety, and so it sounds like I'm completely contradicting myself, but that was just to get your attention. Although, I'm serious, this one is a very big one. If there's one thing that I can think of right now that will help with your anxiety, it is this. So as I was saying, there are all these things that I think are very good for me, but I'm not doing them. And so what that's doing is that's causing this gap, this resistance. It's making me think, oh man, I should really do the Wim Hof method right now, but I don't really feel like it. I kind of just want to go to bed. And then I go to bed and then I feel a little bit bad because I didn't do the Wim Hof method, which is supposed to be so good for me. But then you see the error here is that I'm literally causing suffering for myself. If I didn't know about the Wim Hof method, I would have just gone to sleep that night perfectly happy without feeling any sort of guilt for not having done that. So it's good to have these tools in mind in case you need them. If you want to meditate, if you feel like you need to, go ahead and do it. But don't force yourself. Don't make yourself don't say, I have to meditate every single day for 10 minutes because then that just creates this kind of obligation which takes all the good fun and spontaneity out of it. And now for the good part, which is how this can reduce your anxiety. Something I've noticed about my anxiety, at least maybe half the time that I'm feeling kind of anxious, it's that I just feel like I should be doing something else. It's even in times where it's like maybe I'm working, for some reason I feel like something's missing, something's not quite right. Or even if I'm trying to relax, I feel like maybe I should be working. And it's just this resistance of feeling like you should be doing something else. And I think a huge part of this is this undying need to find some magical cure, something that you can do every day that'll just make your life perfect. But then it's that very search for the cure that is causing your mental distress. It's this idea that things are not quite right now, so I need to find an answer somewhere else. So in other words, what I guess I'm trying to say is that the cure might just be to stop searching so hard for a cure and just enjoy now. As Alan Watts puts it, your quest for having peace of mind is the same as having a disturbed mind. And so that's why this is the main topic of the video, self-acceptance. Accepting the fact that, okay, I want to go to sleep, but I also should probably do the Wim Hof method, but guess what? I don't really feel like it, and that's okay. Dang, I haven't meditated in like a week, and I really should meditate, especially because I tell all these people that I meditate all the time, but I just don't feel like it, and that's okay. And here's another really cool concept about self-acceptance that I just heard from Alan Watts today. He says, don't try to accept yourself more than you can accept yourself. Now, that might sound a little confusing at first, but what he means by that is that a part of us is non-accepting. There's a part of you that doesn't want to accept things the way they are, and you have to accept that part of you, which means that it's impossible to be fully accepting because there's that part of you that doesn't want to accept things. But you just have to accept that part of you. And if you're at all interested in spirituality and enlightenment and everything, I'm starting to think that this is getting very close to the whole idea of enlightenment. Another Alan Watts quote, he says, when you give up looking for the answer, that's nirvana. And that's how Buddhism works. And something that I thought about while I've been thinking about all this is the paradox of seeking attainment. Attainment is this idea of having gone through the spiritual process and getting there to that point. And seeking is your search to get there. Nothing really wrong with that on the surface level, but then when you think about it, in order to be at the point where you have it, you must have it, you know? But when you're seeking it, it means that you don't have it. And so from my understanding, all that attainment is really is to stop seeking, to stop that search, because that search is exactly what's pushing you away from that attainment. Now, if this is getting really far out there, I apologize, but I've been on an Alan Watts binge recently, and I highly suggest you do the same because it will really open your mind. But anyway, circling back to the whole anxiety thing, even if you don't think you're judging yourself, but you still have anxiety, I can promise you, you still are judging yourself. Well, how do I know? Because if you truly were not judging yourself, that means that when you rewind back to before you made some decision, if you really didn't care how the outcome was, you would just make that decision without hesitation. The anxiety comes in when you realize that there are two options, you can do this or you can do that, and you start to weigh which one's gonna be better. You start to worry about whether or not you're going to pick the right one. And if you pick the wrong one, then guess what? You're gonna beat yourself up for it. And that's the self-judgment that I'm talking about here. If you truly, truly did not judge yourself whatsoever, you would not hesitate so much when making decisions, because when you get to a decision that ends up not going the way you wanted or it's unfavorable, you wouldn't judge yourself. Anxiety really just comes from the idea that there's this right or wrong thing to do or this best or worst thing to do. But when you start to realize that all outcomes are just different ones, not necessarily right or wrong, that's when you can begin to stop judging yourself so hard. Just make a decision without thinking so much about it, because it really doesn't matter too much in the end. And who knows, maybe that unfavorable decision right now will turn out to be a very good thing in the long run. I actually made a whole video on that concept about the Taoist farmer. I'll go ahead and link that up there. But the last thing that I'll say on the subject is one last quote from another Alan Watts speech that I heard today. And that is that nobody can make life any better by being responsible about it, because whatever you gain in that direction, you lose at the same time. Well, what does he mean by this? Well, it means you wasted your time and energy thinking too much about the outcome, and that probably brought down your vibe in that moment. Or at least I know this is the case for me. I overthink everything. I think whether or not I should eat this right now or eat it in 30 minutes, or if I should film now or film tomorrow or whatever. And I'd spend way too much time and way too much mental energy thinking about it. And sure, maybe I end up picking a slightly better option in terms of how my day is gonna go or something like that. But I waste so much time and so much mental energy thinking about it. Things would just flow so much better and just be so much more natural and everything if I just decide things faster. And so again, what it comes down to is just not judging yourself, because if you judge yourself for making wrong decisions, then that's only gonna make you think more, and that's gonna give you more anxiety. And so again, this is getting super confusing by now, I'm sure, but if you've made it this far, again, I really hope you're understanding, because it is so important. And again, leave any questions that you have below in the comments, because I love to talk about this type of stuff. And if you do not understand something, please, I want to help answer your question. And if you really want to dig deep into this stuff with me and talk about it on the phone for 30 minutes, either once a week or once a month, sign up on my Patreon page, because I'm offering coaching now. I already have a couple of clients, I've had a few calls, and it's been going really well. And if you haven't already subscribed for the email list, there's a link to that in the description below as well. I highly suggest signing up for that, because you get a free PDF of these daily reminders that I have up on my wall, as well as one email a week every Friday, probably just telling you about what the video is going to be about and just other cool channel updates and stuff that nobody else gets to hear. All right, so that's enough shameless plugging for now. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, I was gonna say go ahead and give it a thumbs up and all this stuff, but then that's even more shameless plugging. But anyway, I'm not gonna judge myself for that because life's too short for that. So I will see you in the next video. Peace.